Many months of hard work, preparation, anticipation, and excitement have led up to this very moment. Hello, everyone, and welcome here tonight as we get set to kick off a brand new series in the premier offline world of esports racing. That's right, we're here with the Power Thunder Lights series. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever installment of the Power Thunder Lights series. This is going to be a very exciting project and developmental series that is going to test the limits and the abilities of the next generation of power racing. This series is going to work as a stomping grounds and a possible also R&D playground for a lot of teams, manufacturers, and parts developers to potentially work on new technologies, resources, and parts for a possible new generation of race car that the power governing body is trying to work on. They're going to use this series as a little bit of a serving grounds to test out new different ideas, strategies, structures, and just different ways about of trying to innovate and improve the whole series of power as a whole. It'll also work as a development ground as well for many drivers that are trying to either become the next V8 Cup Series star or work their way back up to the V8 Cup Series. With that being said, we'll go ahead and give you a quick rundown of how the typical race format is going to work for the Power Thunder Lights series. This is easily the biggest series we've ever had in terms of field count. There are going to be a consistent 65 cars expected to be entered for each and every single Thunder Lights event. And so with that being said, it means that we are going to have a lot of go or go homers. 23 to be exact are gonna have to go home empty-handed without even a chance at running for points towards the end of each and every single race. So, with this being said, the formats are going to work a little bit differently than the normal V8 Cup Series structure would. With this series, we are going to be running a last chance qualifier style events to help determine the final spots of each field and each race. We'll take all 65 cars ran qualifying times before this race, a 2-lap qualifying for each car. The top 36 of those qualifying times are guaranteed and locked into the main event that will happen later on tonight, while the bottom 29 will be lined up based on where they qualified into a last chance qualifier heat race, where in this race, the top 6 finishers will go on to advance to the main event later tonight and will have the opportunity to compete for points. Anyone who finishes from 7th to 29th in this race will fail to qualify for the race and will unfortunately not have a shot at getting themselves any opportunity of points. Point standings are going to work, the points format's going to work the exact same as the V8 Cup would. Top 20 in the main event are going to be accounted for points. The maximum amount of points you can score is 40. With these events, the main event is going to be just a little bit shorter than a typical V8 Cup Series race, about I'd say about around a quarter to sometimes halfway cut of a V8 Cup Series race. And the same is going to be said of the heat races for the main events. They're going to be about 30 to 50% of the distance. This race in particular, it's going to be about half of the distance of our main event. We will have a 51-lap main event, and so we will be having a 26-lap last chance qualifier. So we're going to have 29 cars fight for 6 spots over the course of a 26-lap race to get into the 51-lap main event later tonight. Alright, so before we get tonight's festivities kicked off, we will go into the starting lineup for the last chance qualifier. All these drivers in this race are the bottom 29 qualifiers after the single car qualifying runs based on timing, and their orders of where they'll be started will be determined by where they qualified based on that single car qualifying order. So we'll go run down the field real quickly here and get you a list of names. A lot of these are going to be very unfamiliar, many new faces. Only a total of 7 drivers in this series have some form of prior V8 Cup Series race experience. So for a good batch of drivers, about 57, I believe. No, I'm doing my math wrong. 58, excuse me. 58 of these drivers are going to be brand new, have never raced in a power sanctioned event before. On the pole for the last chance qualifier is Chad Myers, the first one to miss out on the top 36 in qualifying. Chad Myers is the best of the rest. He will start on the pole. To his outside, Clay Costello, running for Norwegian Nightmare Motorsports. Behind them, we're going to see the likes of Brantley Gage, owner of Viper Combat Racing, start in the third spot, followed by Junior Martin on his outside, son of team owner Ronnie Martin. We're going to see if Junior can make Pops proud and get himself into the field today. A driver you may recognize, Ben Crouch, ran full-time last year in V8 Cup. He's going to drop down to the Thunder Light Series this year. He'll roll off 5th for the last chance qualifier. And Perseus Dracos, running for Robin Hood Racing, will start on the outside, the only Greek driver as known of to be in the V8 Cup Series. Behind them in row 8, we'll see the likes of Yates Terzic, owner of Diamondback Motorsports, start on the inside. Outside of him is Jackal Ransworth. He'll be running his own Rolling 9 Voltage team. He'll start in the 8th position. Henry Guo, running for the Revolution Racing team owned by V8 Cup driver Christian Vargas, will start in the 9th position, and to his outside will be Aguayo Zhao in the 10th position, running for Vortex Racing. Just outside of those top 10 positions, we're going to see the likes of Isaac Leonard for Elite Forces Racing start in 11th, followed by Ryan Wilson in 12th, running for his own Wilson Power Sports team. Tyler Ferris and Daniel Brown will make up row 7, followed by Naomi Renee and Jeremy Whalen making up the 8th row. Whalen has a handful of V8 Cup Series starts last season. Rowdy Hill, relative of Leland Hill, is going to start in the 9th row, starts in 17th, and David Wells, running for the Mercedes AMG Junior team, will line up on the outside of Rowdy Hill. And finally, rounding out our top 20 is going to be the likes of Kenneth Williams and Fowler Fourcroy. Then on the outside of the top 20, we're going to see the likes of John Wesley Allen, the other Robin Hood Racing car, followed by Jesse Johns on the outside of him. Row 12, we'll see the likes of Cam Wright Jr., son of Cam Wright Sr., going to try to start his journey to the V8 Cup Series. He'll roll off deep in the field of this LCQ, followed by the outside of Cole Dillinger. Kasim Adnan will start on the inside of row 13, outside of Dalton Sate. And then finally, row 14, we'll see the likes of Chris Welchel and David Scott. And Herbert Oakes III is going to round out the field for our last chance qualifier. All right, field is fired up and we are ready to get the last chance qualifier underway. Remember, this race is going to be 26 laps in length, so it's going to be very quick, just about half the distance of our main event for tonight. And the top 6 finishing drivers of this race are going to lock themselves into the final 6 positions of our main event later on tonight. Chad Myers and Clay Costello are going to lead us down for the green, and we're expecting some crazy racing and chaos given the inexperience and desperation. Green flag is out here at South Boston for the last chance qualifier. Already seeing some bold moves by Junior Martin, trying to make it 3 wide for the 2nd position. As you see, we come across the line. Chad Myers going to be able to hold on to his lead for the time being. Brantley Gage trying to clear, so is Ben Crouch. A little bit of some 3 wide racing in the back, but they're going to get it straightened out. Making it through the first 3 laps now. Junior Martin stuck on that high side. Henry Guo going to go to the inside and try to take away that 5th position, forcing Junior Martin in the last transfer spot. And Isaac Leonard going to take that away from him. The outside line is killer on this track, and it can be the absolute death of you. You do not want to get stuck up there for the pretty much at any given point of the race at all. Right now, though, Brantley Gage trying to get to the outside of Chad Myers, but he's going to get ran up the track by Ben Crouch. Crouch going to move to the inside line. Crouch has a good bit of V8 Cup experience under his belt, ran the full season last year with Mercedes AMG, but unfortunately was dropped and has found himself with Sinclair Canada Racing's development program and is going to run the full season here in Thunder Lights. Henry Guo moves himself up into 4th. Yates Terzic facing some pressure from Tyler Ferris. These are the last 2 drivers in the transfer spots. Naomi Renee sits the first one on the outside looking in, trying to find her way into the top 6. She might move up the track, though. This isn't going to help. Rowdy Hill now is going to try to get to the inside of Renee and move his way up throughout the field. You're seeing some drivers that started deep in the pack, working their way up. Here comes Cam Wright Jr. He started in one of the final rows and is working his way up. John Wesley Allen started outside of the top 20. He's now inside of the top 10. Yates Terzic trying to get around the 16 of Henry Guo all over his rear bumper. Terzic doing everything he can to get around the 16. Trying to force him off the line, make him run something uncomfortable, and then get him right where he wants him. And there he goes, Terzic now moving to the 4th position, excuse me. Up at the front, Ben Crouch trying to chase down Chad Myers. Myers has been out in front and in control for the first 10 laps of this race. Approaching the halfway mark here, we're seeing some interesting battles. Junior Martin falling like a rock, started in the 4th position. And is now fallen outside of what looks to be the top 20. Or no, he's just inside. He's in 17th right now for the time being, but still. Lots of battles going on all around the track, even for these final positions you're seeing here. Yates Terzic now trying to make his way up to the 3rd spot on Brantley Gage. 2 team owners battling it out with each other, 2 driver owners. As right now, Riley Hill has found his way into the, or Rowdy Hill, excuse me. Mixing him up with his owner, but Rowdy Hill moving his way up into the 6th position, while Brantley Gage gets past for 3rd. Yates Terzic moving his way on up in the Diamondback Motorsports Ford. Cam Wright Jr. also finding his way throughout the pack as we come right up to the halfway mark of this race now. We've been green the entire way through. Many drivers just trying to methodically make their way up to the front. Or if they're stuck on that high side, try to get to the low line as quick as they can. Look at Herbert Oakes III. He started dead last and has moved his way up to 12th. Has a good handful of V8 Cup experience under his belt. So definitely a driver that does know what they're doing. We'll see if he can possibly find his way up into these transfer spots. He'll need a little bit to go his way possibly, but he's not out of it for sure. Rowdy Hill trying to fend off the pressure from Cam Wright Jr. This is for the final transfer spot into the race. This is for dead last in the main event. Rowdy Hill so far is the current holder of this, while Cam Wright Jr. is the first one on the outside. Jackal Ransworth sits in the 8th position, followed by Tyler Ferris and John Wesley Allen getting passed by Naomi Renee. Up at the front, there's been no contention for Chad Myers in the lead. Ben Crouch has been sitting comfortably in 2nd, and Yates Terzic sits content in 3rd. Brantley Gage 4th. Henry Guo starting to face some pressure from Rowdy Hill as he is starting to move away from Cam Wright Jr. Jr. might have been using up too much of his equipment making his way through the field. Possibly going to be facing under the pressures of Tyler Ferris. Rowdy Hill trying to get up to Henry Guo. We might actually be seeing a battle for the lead. Here comes Ben Crouch on Chad Myers. This is going to be for the 37th position is what they're battling for. Remember, where you finish in those top 6 spots will determine where you start in the race within the last 6 open spots. So if you win this race, you will start 37th in the main event. 2nd, 38th, 3rd, 39th, and so on. Right now, ooh, Rowdy Hill moving Henry Guo out of the way, trying to get his way up into the 5th position, moving to the inside line on the starting row. That's possibly what Rowdy Hill is fighting for. Guo's got to be careful. He doesn't want to fight for too long because Cam Wright Jr. could come and ruin that within the possible last few laps. We have just 5 laps to go in this race, coming to 4 to go. Ben Crouch trying to find his way up to Chad Myers. Nothing there for him. As we see here now, Rowdy Hill moving away from Henry Guo. And he's got to try to fight to hang on against Cam Wright Jr. Jr., though, looking to the inside of Guo. Coming to just 3 laps to go. Can the 16 hang on for the last transfer spot? Or is the 8 of Cam Wright Jr. going to come in and spoil it? One of the Revolution Racing cars did lock their way into the field, Mason Dagger, while the other one fighting for their very life. It's right now the 03 trying to get up to the 81, and Brantley Gage trying to get to the 06. We're coming to the white flag of the last chance qualifier. Chad Myers is looking to dominate and lead the whole thing. We're paying attention to the final transfer spot of Henry Guo and Cam Wright Jr. Guo looks to have a comfortable enough a gap. Coming to the line, Chad Myers is going to look to win the LCQ and lock himself into the race. Ben Crouch second, Yates Terzic third, followed by Brantley Gage, Rowdy Hill, and Henry Guo is going to hang on to the final transfer position. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the finishing results from our last chance qualifying race. Chad Myers would go on to dominate and lead every single lap from the pole, locking himself into the main event tonight. He will start in the 37th position. Ben Crouch came home in second, right behind him, very close, and was able to lock himself in as well. Yates Terzic will make his way into the main event tonight as well. Brantley Gage, Rowdy Hill, and Henry Guo are going to be the final of the drivers that will be able to transfer to the main event. Everyone else on down, unfortunately, will not make tonight's race and will be listed as DNQs. Starting with Cam Wright Jr., disappointing fashion, 2 DNQs in a row for his power starts. He attempted the season finale last season in the V8 Cup, but unfortunately did not qualify and misses out on the main event tonight in this race. Jackal Ransworth will miss out on the inaugural race, along with Naomi Renee and Tyler Ferris rounding out the top 10 in the LCQ. Cole Dillinger, Jesse Johns, Herbert Oaks III, Isaac Leonard, John Wesley Allen, Fowler Forcays, Dalton Sate, Daniel Brown, Chris Welchel, Cassine Adnan will all fail to qualify for tonight's main event. David Scott going to fall back. Clay Costello falls from second all the way to 22nd, and as a result will not make the main event. David Wells, Jeremy Whalen, Aguayo Joe, Ryan Wilson, Perseus Dracos, Kenneth Williams, and Junior Martin. Martin fell all the way back to the last place position, and he is not going to be able to make it to tonight's race, unfortunately. Alright, before we get tonight's race kicked off and started, the main event, let's go ahead and take a quick look at our starting lineup for tonight's race. We came in with 65 cars, only 42 can race, and these are going to be the 42 that will make the main event. Max Anderson is going to start on the pole for his Anderson Racing team, claiming the first pole ever in the Thunder Lights Series. Cho Tomioka, relative of Station Tomioka, is going to start second on the outside for Kia. In row 2, we'll see the likes of Levi Thorley in the third position, and Mason Dagger will line up to his outside. Rows 3, we'll see the likes of Olivia Reynolds and Brandon Smith, followed by SC Derricks and Daniel Ferguson, Derricks having experience in last year's Royalty Graphics 500. Then finally, rounding out the top 10, we're going to see the likes of Josh Darth and Danny Robinson. Outside the top 10 positions, we'll see David Byers for Sinclair Canada Racing and Andrew James for Elite Forces Racing. Cam Cole and Landon Rock will make up the 7th row. Cole, another driver whose lone V8 Cup Series race includes the Royalty Graphics 500. Row 8 will see the likes of Maya Thorne and Austin Montgomery, followed by Bentley Schaefer and Patty Maizono, and Myron Felder and Ashton Tift will round out our top 20. Outside the top 20 in row 11, we'll have Raiden Red and Brandon James, followed by Brandon Mayhew and David Wade. Trey Jackson and Jacob Athens will make row 13. Row 14, we'll see Blaine Saylor and Carson Jefferson. Jefferson raced a handful of races last year at the beginning of the first season. Billy Kidd running in his own number 06, along with Miller Sawyer in the number 3, will round out our top 30. In row 16, we'll see the likes of Emily Conwell running for Sabre Fox's Honda team, and Fisher Miller will make up row 16. Burr and Jacob and Knox Hanley will line up behind them, followed by Jonathan Lawson and Lila Brown. Then after them will be our last chance qualifier transfers, which include the likes of the winner Chad Myers, runner-up Ben Crouch, and Yates Terzic and Brantley Gage rounding out the top 40. And finally, just outside of the top 40, we will see the likes of Rowdy Hill and Henry Guo claim the last 2 transfer spots, and we'll round out our 42-car field for tonight's 51-lap main event. All right, and let's go trackside for the command for the first ever Power Thunderlight Series race here at South Boston.
Is this on? Drivers, start your engines.
What a command. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the race facts that you'll need to know for tonight. Really quick here on one of the shortest pace laps we'll have all season. Beautiful night here for this half-mile facility. 80 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature. Absolutely 0 wind coming in. So that's going to be really, really nice for tonight. 51-lap main event. And remember, top 20 is awarded points. This is going to be for all the marbles. And right here, this is the main event. Everything you race for. The road to the Power Thunderlight Series begins here. Green flag is underway. Make it through the start just fine. Not 100% sure if Cho Tomioka got a jump on that restart or not. We'll just have to see, but the caution is out. A huge crash. The 73 upside down. Billy Kidd involved. The 73 up in the pits. Blaine Saylor. What a wreck. We might have seen more cars get involved. I'm not 100% sure. But we've got some absolute chaos here. A huge, huge wreck. Caution is out already after the first lap. Take a replay of Blaine Saylor's start, and it's not going to be a good one. His Power Thunderlight's debut only going to last a lap. His Kid going to hook him into the outside wall and cause a huge crash. My goodness, that was vicious. Another look at the start here. Billy Kidd going to hook the 73 of Blaine Saylor, and that is going to send him and Kidd upside down into the pit wall. A vicious crash. You'll see Emily Conwell as well have to swerve to avoid, or gets hit by the 73 actually, and that's what causes that little stack up right there. But nonetheless, a huge crash. Very vicious incident. Take another look on the start here. You're going to see Billy Kidd clip the 73 of Blaine Saylor into that inside tire barrier. And oh my goodness. Very, very hard hits for those drivers. Spotter's view from what just transpired. The 73 going to get clipped by the 06, and this is going to be a very vicious incident. Well, it only took us 1 lap to get us the first ever caution, and it was a huge one. Blaine Saylor and Billy Kidd go into the tire barriers, causing a vicious wreck on the ensuing opening laps. Caution is out for the first time today here at South Boston. All right, everyone, welcome back here to the South Boston Speedway. Under caution for the first time today due to the opening wreck involving the likes of Billy Kidd, Yates Terzic, the 66 of Fisher Miller, the 73 of Blaine Saylor, the 81 of our last chance qualifier race winner Chad Myers, and the 82 of Emily Conwell. For both Billy Kidd and Blaine Saylor, unfortunately, their Thunderlights debuts will only last for less than 1 lap, as they're both going to be out of the race as a result of that wreck. We're going to get restarted here on lap 8 of 51, meaning we have just a little over 40 laps left in this race still. And it should get pretty hectic. Hopefully the single file restart will help out a little bit with some of the congestion and give us a little bit of a decent green flag run. Max Anderson has led every single lap so far from the pole. We'll see if that will continue or if Levi Thorley can give him something to chase. Green flag is in the air. Max Anderson leads us back to the green. Thorley immediately trying to get to the inside of the 43. Already a couple cars making some inside moves throughout the pack. Taking a look here now throughout the spectator cam. Alexander Rowe has, or Max Anderson, excuse me. Not sure why I said Alexander Rowe. Max Anderson has the lead right now, but here comes Levi Thorley looking to the inside on the number 43. The 61 has the position. move up Anderson to second. Max Storley put him into the lead. Olivia Reynolds right now running in that third position. Trying to chase down the 43 of Max Anderson. As you're seeing here, Josh Darth getting to the inside, trying to claim the fourth position from Cho Tomioka, and he does so. David Byers might stick the nose in there as well. Try to get a quick position on the 35. Olivia Reynolds now moves her way up into the second place spot. Levi Thorley now trying to build himself a little bit of a gap from second of Reynolds, and right now he is doing so just fine. Levi Thorley in the 61 out in front and in control of the 83 of Olivia Reynolds. About 3/4 of a second of a gap between the 61 and the 83. Look throughout the pack here now. SC Derricks making a little bit of a charge to the 43 of Max Anderson. Cho Tomioka fighting against the 85 of Daniel Ferguson. We got Bentley Schaefer moving alongside with Austin Montgomery. They are passing the 65 and the 23. More looks throughout the field here. Take a look at some of these damaged cars that were involved in the first wreck. Yates Terzic got a tiny, tiny piece of it. So did Fisher Miller. But for the most part, not too many people affected. Looks like someone might have sideswiped the 3 of Miller Sawyer. His car looks to be just a little bit bent up in terms of the bodywork. Daniel Ferguson now working his way around the 43. SC Derricks moving up into fourth around Josh Darth. That number 85 car for A3 Scarlet Motorsports. Both their cars inside of the top 10 right now. Flandre Wilson running a pretty good development program from the looks of it here in the first opening stages of the first race. Right now, it is Chevy, and Honda as our top 3 manufacturers, followed by another Chevy in fourth and a Ford to make up the top 5. A little bit of some movement going on back here. We see here Patty Maizono in the Kias working her way around her teammate Cho Tomioka 3 wide here in the back. This is looking to be possibly for the 12th position. Cho Tomioka losing out on a lot of positions on that high side. As we mentioned, the high side can be the death to your race. If you get stuck on there, it's very, very difficult to get back down underneath it. As now we're seeing here David Byers trying to move Olivia Reynolds up to the second position. They're starting to catch the 61 of Levi Thorley a little bit by bit each lap. But they're not quite there just yet to make a move or have a chance at a shot. But now David Byers moving his way up to the second spot for Sinclair Canada Racing, doing a good job in the number 10 car in his debut race. So far, our top 3 is all rookies. Only one driver with any type of V8 Cup Series experience in the top 10. That's SC Derricks right here, and he's only done 1 race. So realistically, not a lot of that V8 Cup knowledge being put to use here on that short track, given that his only race was on a super speedway. So SC Derricks though still doing a great job for A3 Scarlet Motorsports in the 4th position. Levi Thorley still trying to hang on to the lead. He's got David Byers really chasing him down, reeling him in that number 10 Honda. Showing a good bit of power there. Honda has a good bit of some development programs. I believe they have at least, I want to say they have 4 cars in this series. 4 or 5. They have 5 cars in the V8 Cup. So Honda slowly but surely breaking their way into the ranks of power. We mentioned there's 2 new manufacturers that are entering in this series, specifically using this series as a developing and testing grounds to a possible future V8 Cup Series expansion, given if there's interest or teams open enough to transferring over. One of them, as we're seeing right here, is Kia. We're seeing Patty Maizono in the Kia K5, I believe. And then the other one, I'm not sure where they could be at. Yeah, right here, Burr and Jacob running in the with Republic of Thunder Racing. They're running Volkswagen. So that's 2 really new, interesting manufacturers we're seeing in the series as a result of these expansions. Right now, Austin Montgomery starting to chase his way down into the top 3 as we have just passed the halfway mark of this race. So far, we've only had 1 caution, but we've been green flag racing the entire way since. And right now, David Byers going to try to make his way up to the front on Levi Thorley and possibly contend and make a charge at taking the lead away from Levi Thorley in the 61. Byers giving it everything he's got. Austin Montgomery going to hope that Byers can get up to that 61 and possibly fight it out amongst themselves as well, so that way they can give the 30 of Austin Montgomery a chance. He's been pretty quiet here so far, but Union Star Motorsports been looking pretty strong in this race. They've got two of their 3 cars in the top 10. Ooh, David Byers went really high up the track. Not too sure what happened to him there, but it's going to give Austin Montgomery a chance to really reel him in. That 10 car right now lost a good bit of some time and momentum on the number 61. Trying to take a look at the rest of the field. It could be possible we see some lappers, but I think it'd be very close to the end of the race if we even see the lap traffic coming as a result. That would be, of course, if we do not get a caution here, as we are coming up to just 20 laps to go in this race. Next time by, these little quick fire events, they go by fast, but they certainly aren't absent of action, as we're seeing Max Anderson try to make the move on SC Derricks for 4th. Our pole sitter still staying within the top 5, trying to hang in there. Olivia Reynolds as well, trying to work her way back up in the top 5, currently in that 6th place position right now. Carson Jefferson working his way into 9th, or 8th, excuse me. 9th is the 32 of Jonathan Lawson, and Patty Maizono in the 55 is the last car in the top 10. Levi Thorley, though, starting to increase that gap to David Byers. It is now going back to about 3/4 of a second. So the 10 car is starting to lose out on some momentum, unfortunately. And Austin Montgomery is really starting to use that to advantage. Going to try to reel him in here. Montgomery going to try to get around the 10, possibly see if he can get a shot at the win, if they can reel him in. They are starting to close in on the 61 a little bit. They've got a very good gap from 4th place, though, of the 43 right now. Here comes Olivia Reynolds making the move. JC Motorsports versus A3 Scarlet Motorsports. Two teams with pretty heavy Chevy connections, but no affiliations amongst themselves. Top 3 starting to space out just a little bit. Look at the back here. Got some Mercedes and Fords battling it out amongst each other. Hasn't been a very good race for Landon Rocks. Started inside of the top 15 and has fallen all the way back to some of the last remaining positions. Unfortunate to see for the number 25, the Southern Cross Racing Honda. Meanwhile, though, their parent team, Sinclair Canada Racing, running pretty well. One of their cars is fighting for the win, or at least trying to, half a second off of our leader. Just a little over it now. Throughout the field, we'll take a look here. Carson Jefferson has been passed for the 10th position. We see right here Mason Dagger for Revolution Racing currently sits in the 11th spot. He's fallen back a little bit, started 4th, now all the way down into the 11th position. Danny Robinson working his way up, battling out with Brandon Smith, 2 Chevys, 3 Chevys in the screen right here. Actually, there's Daniel Ferguson starting to fall back a little bit as well. Maya Thorne currently in the 15th spot, followed by Brandon James in 16. Andrew James, Burren Jacob, the 9 of Trey Jackson, and the 27 of Rowdy Hill round out your top 20. Although the 3 of Miller Sawyer trying to change that and get to the position that Rowdy Hill is in. But still, Rowdy Hill running very well. So is Henry Guo. Just outside of those positions, there's Ben Crouch as well. A lot of our transfer drivers, the drivers that made it in on the LCQ, are trying to work their way into the top 20 in the points-paying positions. The battle for 4th is heating up right now, as we are seeing. It's starting to bunch up with less than 10 laps to go under Olivia Reynolds. A little bit of a train starting to form from 4th all the way down to 10th. As these top 3 right now are struggling to keep a grips of each other. Levi Thorley out in front in ease control, but watch out. We're starting to approach the lappers with just 7 laps to go as we'll come around this time. Will Levi Thorley have to navigate through any of this traffic? Will he be able to just barely make it by without having to encounter any of the lappers? We'll just have to wait and see. Brandon Mayhew, currently the last car in the lead lap, followed by Myron Felder. And then Raiden Red right there as well. We have just 7 laps to go in this race. Going to be very interesting to see how these lappers will affect our leaders, or if they will or not. Levi Thorley is definitely catching them, as we see Brandon Mayhew fighting amongst Myron Felder for last place. Coming up now, just 5 laps to go. This time by, or 4 to go, excuse me. This is the 4 to go signal now. David Byers starting to get reeled in by Austin Montgomery just a little bit. Montgomery going to try to put the bumper to the number 10. might see the 30 try to claim the second position before we get to the end of this race. I think with them racing like this, even if Levi Thorley does approach this lap traffic, it's not going to be much of a factor for him coming up to just 2 laps to go. Levi Thorley been able to steal the show. He stole the lead and hasn't been able to look back since. He's got to make it around just 1.5 more times, and he will be our first ever winner in the Power Thunderlight Series. Coming to just 1 to go. White flag in the air for Levi Thorley and the number 61 team. First, the Spartan Racing team, Levi Thorley, is going to come around, and he is going to be your inaugural winner for the Power Thunderlight Series. Levi Thorley claims his first checkered flag. David Byers comes home in second for Sinclair Canada Racing, and Austin Montgomery will round out our top 3. But a big congratulations to Levi Thorley and the number 61 for scoring his first career win. All right, we are ready to wrap up what has been an awesome night of racing for the next generation of the Power Series stars. Levi Thorley is going to claim the first ever checkered flag for the Power Thunderlight Series, taking home his first career win. David Byers would finish second, followed by Austin Montgomery in third. Olivia Reynolds would finish fourth, and Josh Darth would round out the top 5. Pole sitter Max Anderson would fall down to the 6th position, followed by SC Derricks in 7th. Brandon Smith in 8th, Patty Maizono in 9th, and Jonathan Lawson would round out our top 10. Carson Jefferson would finish in 11th, Danny Robinson would claim 12th, followed by Mason Dagger in 13th, Daniel Ferguson in 14th, Andrew James would round out the top 15, followed by Brandon James of no relation in 16th, Burren Jacob in 17th, Miller Sawyer finished 18th, Maya Thorne would claim 19th, and Henry Guo would claim the last point position after starting from dead last, got the last transfer position in the LCQ, comes home to get himself a point. Good for Henry Guo, a very hard-fought performance for that number 16 team. They did incredibly well and was actually the highest of the transfer position drivers to finish in the race. Outside of the top 20, we're going to see the likes of Trey Jackson finish in 21st, followed by Ashton Tift in 22nd. Rowdy Hill would come home 23rd, followed by Landon Rock in 24th. David Wade would finish 25th, with Bentley Schaffer in 26th, Fisher Miller 27th, Brantley Gage would come home 28th, Yates Terzic 29th, and Ben Crouch would manage to round out the top 30. Outside of the top 30 positions, we'd see the likes of Lila Brown and finish in 31st, Knox Hanley 32nd, Raiden Red in 33rd, followed by Joe Tomioka 34th, Brandon Mayhew 35th, Cam Cole in 36th, and Jacob Athens in 37th, followed by Myron Felder, who would be the last of the cars to end up finishing the race. Unfortunately, after that, Chad Myers and Emily Conwell would have to pull off after due to some sustained damages that they suffered throughout the race after that first lap incident. And finally, our last two finishers would go to Billy Kidd and Blaine Saylor, getting involved in that monstrous wreck at the very start of the race. All right, with that being said, we have the first ever Power Thunder Lights Series race completed and underway. We'll go ahead now and take a look at our point standings after tonight's race. Levi Thorley claims the first place in the point standings with 37 points in total to his name. David Byers able to stay within about 9 points, given the fact that he was able to get the fastest lap award and give himself an extra 3 bonus points. Austin Montgomery claims third in the points, followed by Olivia Reynolds just 2 points off of him in fourth. Another 2 points separates Reynolds and Josh Darth in fifth. Darth and Max Anderson both tied with 18 points apiece, as Anderson was able to lead the first 8 laps and was able to get the bonus points for leading a lap. SC Derricks comes home in 7th in points, followed by 1 point off of Brandon Smith. Everyone from here on out will be 1 point off of each other. Patty Maizono in 9th and Jonathan Lawson round out the top 10 in points. After that, in the 11th position, we'll see the likes of Carson Jefferson. 12th will be Danny Robinson. 13th, Mason Dagger. 14th, Daniel Ferguson. 15th, Andrew James. 16th, Brandon James. 17th, Vern Jacob. 18th, Miller Sawyer. Maya Thorne in 19th, and Henry Guo claims the last remaining point. As you'll notice, most of it is pretty much the same exact results as they finished, besides the fact of Max Anderson and Josh Darth both being tied. Pretty much just where they finished is where they will be in the point standings. Not too many leaders. We only saw the 61 of Levi Thorley. He led all but the first 8 laps, or it might have been the first 10. Max Anderson led those, and then once Levi Thorley took the lead, he never was able to look back. So it was definitely an interesting showing there. Key thing to remember too, there is no championship gauntlet or playoff format. It's just specifically gain the most amount of points that you can after the 10 races that we will have for the Thunder Light Series this season. And whoever has the highest total points after those 10 races will be the inaugural Thunder Lights champion. So always just keep that in mind, when remembering that this is just going to be a very, very standard championship points format. Well, anyways, we thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the first ever Thunder Light Series race. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Saw a lot of clean, hard racing at the end. Lots of hard racing for the transfer spots, hard racing in the main event, and all in all, it was a very fun and great night. Be sure to tune in the next coming weeks as we will head over to the second race of the series at the Sawmill Raceway, our first road course race of the season for the Thunder Lights drivers. That will be in a few weeks' time, so you will not want to miss it. Be on the lookout for the announcements of when that race will come out. Anyways, we thank you for tuning in once again. Be sure to keep updated with both the V8 Cup Series and the Power Thunder Light Series, and until then, we'll see you at the next race.